video on the channel today. We're back on GT Sport and we're back with a track guide for the FIA Nations race at the Redbull ring in the Group B rally cars. So this is a very tricky combination, obviously driving in the heavy wet conditions. The car I've picked for the track guide is the Nissan GTR. I think it's going to be a good choice for the race because it looks like the one stop is actually the fastest way to participate in this race. It's ×2 fuel. This car does not need to worry about fuel in that race, and it's ×10 tyre wear. So the tyre wear does become quite aggressive on the front. I'm going to point out some stuff to obviously counter that slightly to make your stints last a little bit better towards the end. But yeah, it's going to be a pit stop race by the looks of it. We've done quite a few practice races. It looks like it's only about a 7 to 8 second pit lane loss with a change of tyres around this track in these cars. Obviously, because the traction is so slow, with going through the last corner, you kind of cut that corner out a bit and gain a bit of time by missing a little section of track off. So the pit stop is not going to cost you much, but we're going to go through all the stuff you need to do to try and help you get a good lap time round here. Obviously, there are some very important stuff you need to be doing on this track, in particular on the braking zones. When it comes to avoiding curves, you'll see that corner there is one of the only corners where you will actually try and extend out onto the curb while into the braking, because it's quite a fast corner coming up to it, but you also take more speed through that corner. But in terms of turn 1, turn 2, or technically turn 3 it is, you'll see that we try and avoid the curbs as much as possible, but there are some corners where you still want to use that extra width of the track. For this track guide, I've actually got P1's Ghost. Well, it was P1's Ghost. It was TRL Adams' lap. I think it's been beaten now. As a reference point, from the starting 6 tenths ahead, so you can actually, I've tried to do it so you can see what I'm talking about in terms of lines through corners, because you take very similar lines. We start the lap into turn 1, braking just short of the 150 board, you can see there, braking a fair bit short of the 150, and then turning in, and you're going to turn in very early. You can see avoiding braking on that area which I've lined with the 2 red lines. You don't want to get your tyre over there until the very end, when you're going to slightly widen the line into the apex, and you're going to see we're going to take a big chunk off this corner. You can almost see the car in front of me there, where right hand tyre is on the right hand side of that yellow curb, and then the left hand tyre on the left hand side. I actually do this corner quite nicely without running wide at all there. I could have probably gotten the power much earlier and extended the corner slightly and ran out a little bit wide, but I kept it fully on the track. Still got a fairly solid exit from that corner. You can see our torque distribution is on 40-60, brake bias is on 3 to the rear for this lap. Going into the braking zone, we're going to brake quite a bit short of that 150 board, you can see. And again, the 2 red lines, avoid braking with your tyre in that zone, because you will lose the ability to stop the car. And then braking, as trail braking all the way into this corner, you've got to be gentle, and turning around the 50 board, you'll see that's when we start turning into the corner, trying to clip your right hand tyre onto that curb there. Done very nicely there. And then on the PAL very early with a very early upshift, you'll see up to 3rd gear, and then also you're going to rev this out now to about 75, 76, 77 there, change into 4th gear, and then accelerate now into turn 4, where you're going to brake. This is so important to get your braking done at the right spot. You do not want to brake late. I look for the 200 board, which is there, and brake just past that normally. That's kind of like the safe reference. You can brake a little bit later, but it's so dangerous. And again, do not get your left hand tyre too much onto that curb, because you will lose braking distance as we go down through the gears, trail braking all the way. And you're going to see this is a very hard off cambered corner to stop the car, and if you do brake late, you will miss this apex and you'll lose a lot of time as we try and bite that right hand tyre into that curb. You see I slightly miss the apex, but what that enables me to do is get quite a squared off line, and then on the power, early upshift into 3rd gear there to try and get some traction out the car. Again, early upshift into 4th, and now we're accelerating into the next braking zone, which we're going to look for the 100 board on the right hand side, which you see there. We're braking pretty much just before that. You see very early on the brakes. I do find that if you try and overdrive this track, you will lose time. Braking a little bit earlier and getting your line sorted will normally give you a better lap time. As you see there, the lead Ghost there makes a little mistake on that corner, goes a little bit sideways. I managed to gain quite a bit of time there, keeping it nice and smooth through the apex of that corner. And then on the PAL very early with an early upshift into 4th gear, you see that's why we go out onto the curb for this braking zone, because you're carrying more speed. As the brakes go in very early though, as you can see, because we're on that curb, we're going to brake very early, because we don't want to run wide, as you see, into this apex. Slowly letting the car coast through this corner almost, with a little bit of throttle inputs coming in, accelerating the car up to maximum throttle, early upshift into 4th gear. Use some of the curb on the right hand side to straighten this line up. You'll see the Ghost also doing the same thing there, getting all his car onto that curb. I'm going to do the same. That's just to square the car off and get as much acceleration out without putting too much steering and put in as we go through the exit of the corner. And now into the final group of corners, very tricky corners to get right. You've got to brake very early. You see, look how early I'm braking, only pretty much just past the 150 board, the braking inputs are going in. And that's because we like to get rid of the speed slowly, widen the line in through this corner again using some of the curb on the left hand side, and then down to third gear. And again, you need to get your right hand tyre onto this curb really to help rotate the car through the corner. And then early upshift into fourth gear, you'll see here, just to get a bit of acceleration and grip. And I did that really nicely without running too far wide. You can see how the Ghost in front ran very far wide. I've got my right hand tyre still on the track, which has given me really good braking ability. You can see that now. Look how early I'm able to turn into the corner compared to the Ghost in front. However, with his line, he gets a very good exit from the corner because he straightens the car off very well. And I kind of can't get on the power as well, but it's still over the line with a very solid 1 minute 44.5, which is actually good enough for a top 10 stars lap. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I believe it was yesterday. We'll have a little watch of the lap now from the chase camera. We go into turn 1 and you're going to see what I'm talking about, the braking, how I try and avoid the curb. Look how close we get to it, just at the egg, pretty much the end of the braking zone. We widen the line in and just skim the curb. That's pretty much how you do it perfectly. I did that really nicely to be there without running wide onto the curb. Nice exit, reasonable speed down straight. Now I could have gotten the throttle a little bit earlier, but I was quite happy with how we did turn 1 there without really going over the curb or risking nothing. And then into the braking zone again, you can see avoiding that curb in the braking zone because these are the heavy braking zones. When you're down into second gear, you do not want to be braking on that curb. And then accelerating out the corner, a little bit of curb usage on acceleration, maybe halting the acceleration very slightly, but nothing too drastic. And then you're going to see how I get as close as possible to that curb in the braking. You see a few inches away, but we're not going to go onto the curb again because it's again a heavy braking zone when we're going down to second gear. Now this corner, you can sometimes get away with getting a little bit onto the curb. You'll see I probably get a little bit more risky in terms of braking onto the curb for this one. You see onto the curb slightly there to widen the line because it's more of a third gear braking zone. And again, you're accelerating out of this one, so you want to carry the speed out. You don't want to limit your acceleration out of this corner, so you use that wide braking line for this. And again, it's down to third gear. You're not really going into second gear, so it's not quite as heavy braking zone. And accelerating through these corners, and again into these final corners, you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of using the braking on the full width this time, because we're not going down to second gear. We're just going down to third gear, and it's more of a fast-paced right-hander rather than a very tight, narrow corner. So that was a lap of the track. You see, taking this final corner, quite a lot of big chunk off that corner there. You can really attack that and over the line for a fairly solid lap. I'll leave you now with the lap at full speed without any talking over. I hope you enjoyed this track guide. Let me know in the comment section if it helps you out. I do appreciate reading the comments to let me know that these are worthwhile doing. Please leave a like if you have enjoyed this video. I'll be back with more track guides and more videos and more streams throughout the upcoming weeks. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscription button and hit the notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.